Lucien and Charles had known Cedric, Viscount Sheridan, for many years, bonded during one dark night at university. The memory of when he, Charles, Cedric and two others, Godric and Ashton, had first met always unsettled him. Still, what had happened had forged an unbreakable bond between the five of them. Later, London, or at least the society pages, had dubbed them the League of Rogues. The League. How amusing it all was, except for one thing. The night they'd formed their alliance, each of the five men had been marked by the devil himself. A man by the name of Hugo Waverley, a fellow student at Cambridge, had sworn vengeance on them, and sometimes Lucien wondered if they didn't deserve it. Lucien shook off the heavy thoughts. He was drawn to the vision of Horatia pausing to admire a shop window displaying an array of poke bonnets nestled on stands. Her beleaguered footman stood by her elbow, juggling the box in his arms. He nodded smartly as Horatia pointed out a particular bonnet. Lucien was tempted to venture forth and speak with her, possibly lure her into an alley in order to have just a moment alone with her. Even if he only spoke with her, he feared the intimacy of that conversation would get him a bullet through his heart if her brother ever found out. Charles had walked a few feet ahead, then stopped, and turned to kick a pile of snow into the street. "If this is how you mean to spend the day, then consider me gone. I could be at Jackson's salon right now, or better yet, savouring the favours of the fine ladies at the Midnight Garden." Lucien knew he'd put Charles out of sorts asking him to come today, but he'd had a peculiar feeling since he'd risen this morning, as though someone was walking over his grave. Ever since Hugo Waverley had returned to London, he had been keeping an eye on Cedric's sisters, particularly Horatia. Waverley had a way of creating collateral damage, and Lucien would do anything to keep these innocent ladies safe. But you mustn't know he was watching over her. He'd spent the last 6 years being outwardly cold to her, praying she'd stop gazing at him in that sweet, loving way of hers. It was cruel of him, yes, but if he did not create some distance, he'd have had her on her back beneath him. She was too good a woman for that, and he was far too wicked to be worthy of her. Rather like a demon falling for an angel, he longed for her in ways he'd never craved for other women, and he could never have her. The reason was simple. His public reputation did not do justice to the true depth of his debauchery. A man like him could and should never be with a woman like Horatia. She was beauty, intelligence, and strength, and he would corrupt her with just one night in his arms.